Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the new Watchdives WD1967 Sharkmaster 300 is what they call it. I received this watch for free. I don't have to send the watch back, but that's not going to sway my review one way or the other. You will always get my honest review on this channel. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'm going to be leaving an affiliate link down in the video description. If you click that link and you buy this watch, and I think you might because the price is really good right now, I will get a little bit of commission from the sale, and that'll allow me to keep the channel going. So thank you guys so much for the continued support over the years. I believe the retail price for this watch is going to be $199. That's before any taxes, sales, or coupons or anything like that. They are currently participating in the 11/11 sale, so I believe the price is $165. And then if you use this code right here, Escape10, you will get $10 off the purchase. So that brings the price down to $155 US. And I believe that also includes free FedEx shipping worldwide. So yeah, really hard to beat for $155 in my opinion. Currently the watch is only available in black. I do believe they have a blue version in the works. I thought I saw that on Instagram or somewhere, and I can't find it again. So yeah, they might be putting out a blue dial very soon. You can also get this with the Watchdives branding, or you can get it with a sterile dial. You can also get it with a no date dial. You can get it with a 6 o'clock date dial, and you can get it with a 3 o'clock date dial. So plenty of options. You're going to be able to find one that you like. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, screw-down crown, screw-down case back, ceramic bezel insert, Swiss BGW9 lume on the dial, the hands, and the bezel insert, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. So this is one of Watchdives' kind of higher-end watches. They've recently reviewed one of their quartz offerings up here, and you know, this one is just a little bit nicer than all the other ones. So I like the direction that they're going. I think this one is great. Especially, you know, even comparing it to other bigger brands that have been around longer, this one it's really good. It's not perfect though. I'll say that it's definitely not perfect. No watch is. So I say we get right into the full review. But before we do a quick wrist check today. Not going Chinese, wearing my Yema Rallygraph that I just recently got. Absolutely loving this one so far. Really, really cool watch. And the review for this one will be coming soon. I'm just not in any rush to do it. All right, let's get into the dimensions. We've got a bezel diameter of 38.8 millimeters. The case is 38 millimeters. Got a case thickness of 13.8 millimeters. We've got 20 millimeter lug width, a lug to lug of 45.0, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 3 links removed. It weighs 142 grams. So I think the size on this thing is great. At 39 millimeters at the bezel, it does wear just a little bit smaller, I think, just because of the case shape, I think, and you know, the overall length of 45 millimeters, pretty short and compact. Yeah, but I really do like the way it wears. It has a nice curvature to the lugs, as you can see there, so it hugs the wrist really nicely. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of the way this watch wears. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. Hey, here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, I mean, it just wears really, really good. I mean, that compact lug to lug and that case shape really helps it wear very nicely. You can see there a little bit turned down to the lugs, and definitely, you know, get lots of light play off of those chamfers. I think the case looks awesome on this watch. Looks really, really good. Very comfortable on the bracelet as well. And we'll talk about all that in more detail later. Really sorry if the wind is too bad here. Hopefully I can block it a little bit. But yeah, definitely had some pretty terrible weather here lately. And getting out from underneath that tree, you can definitely see there's that blue tint to the AR coating. That's my big complaint about the watch, really, is just that. And even then, it's not that big of a deal to me. I know some people just don't like that, but for me, it's not a huge deal. But yeah, there you can see, definitely I'm getting rained on here, as you can tell, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna go throw this on some straps and we'll get back to this review. And here we are on a shark mesh or Milanese strap, and I think that actually looks pretty good. Usually I'm not a fan of these straps, especially on dive watches, but this one just works for me. And here we are on a Tropic rubber strap, and I mean, I think it looks great. There you can see that strong blue AR coating. A little bit distracting, but I do think the strap looks really good on this watch. Obviously, black diver with a black rubber strap, it's never going to look bad. So, yeah, I think it looks good. All right, let's go throw it on some more. And here we are on a Riche canvas strap. This is an army green color, and again, I think it looks good. You're never going to find something that doesn't go with this watch, in my opinion. All right, got a couple more. And leaning into those vintage vibes a little bit, got it on a gray Perlon strap here. I think it looks pretty good. That's one layer underneath the watch. You can still see that it's still sitting really nice. All right, let's go throw it on one last one. All right, and lastly, here we are on a kind of an electric blue nylon strap, 2 layers underneath the watch there, as you can see. And I mean, it still is wearing very nicely. So, yeah, really happy with the way this case wears. It does seem maybe just a little thick on paper, but really the wearing experience is different than the numbers suggest. So I'm really happy with this one. All right, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case and the case finishing. The case is done really nicely. It's a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces, as you can see here. So on the tops of the lugs here, right next to the lug opening, you can see you kind of have this angular brushing there. Then it transitions nicely into a nice polished chamfer. This chamfer goes from one lug tip up and around down to the other one. So really nice kind of swooping, twisted lug look. Really happy with the transitions as well. They're not razor sharp, but I mean they're really close. Even getting up really close here like this, you can see they're just. I mean it's just a little. It's just. I'd say it's like 90% of what a San Martin is like. So pretty happy with the case transitions on this thing. I think they did a very nice job. The sides of the case are a horizontal brushing, which I really like. And again, really nice and consistent. Very happy with that. They do have drilled lugs for quick strap changes, which I am a huge fan of. Yeah, really satisfied with that. Flipping it to the crown side here, you can see you do have a Watchdives signed crown there. Pretty nice crown, nice and grippy, good size. You can tell the overhang of the bezel does kind of get in the way a little bit of this crown, so it does every once in a while while you're screwing it in, you kind of hit this bezel with your hand. So just something to keep in mind. It's really not that big of a deal. I just thought I would mention it. Flipping it to the case back, you can see here it's just a sterile case back, mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. Kind of got that coin edge, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I've learned to deal with these things. Circular brushing on the bottom of the case. Everything on the bottom of this case here, this bottom edge here, you can kind of see it there. There's a little tiny chamfer, and that just makes this thing just really comfortable on wrist. Very happy with that. Something that other brands like San Martin for sure need to work on. That bottom chamfer makes all the difference in the world, and I'm sure it costs them absolutely nothing to do. So I'm very happy that they put that on there. It makes a big difference in the comfort of this thing. All right, let's talk about the bezel on this thing. So the bezel is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. There is absolutely no back play, and you can see here the alignment is just spot on. It's a ceramic bezel insert with BGW9 filled markers here all the way around. It looks absolutely fantastic. I got no issues with that at all. You can see nice and crisp filling of that paint. I think it looks good. It looks really good, and the lume on that is pretty strong. We'll get to the lume shot here in just a little bit. But yeah, the bezel itself, stainless steel, fully polished, but plenty of grip on this thing. I mean, it's got tons of grip, and that's good because the resistance is a little bit high on this. So I'm going to let you listen to the action on this thing here. So nice and snappy. You can hear, I mean, it's a very nice bezel. It's not super smooth. It's very ratchety, kind of tool-like. So yeah, it's a good one though. I'm very happy with it. And again, there's no back play in this thing. There's no bounce, no wobble, no nothing. So really satisfied with the bezel on this thing. Bezel insert is good as well. Yeah, it's really good. All right, so let's talk about the crystal in this thing. First things first, as always, we'll test it for sapphire. This is sapphire crystal. It is a very nice sapphire crystal. You can tell here, definitely has a very strong blue anti-reflective coating. Some people are going to be okay with it. Some people aren't. That's going to be an instant turnoff for a lot of people. So I think in version 2 of this, if they put on clear anti-reflective coating, I think it would make a big difference in my opinion. I'm not too bothered by it when you're looking at the watch normally. You really only notice it on the edge, and I think it looks pretty cool, but there are times where you catch the light like that, and it just lights up that crystal blue. So just something to keep in mind. And there is tons of distortion. So you can see that date down there. It does get distorted by that crystal. Just something to keep in mind. I think if I had to do it over again, I probably would go with the no date one. But that's just because I don't rely on a date window very often. So, but you can see here, really nice box domed sapphire crystal. You can see it sitting up above the bezel there. It looks excellent. Really happy with the crystal. Unless you don't like that blue, I see no reason to to not get this because of the crystal. It's a really good crystal, lots and lots of distortion. I think it looks excellent. All right, getting in real tight on the dial there. You can see it is a gloss black dial, so it's a nice deep black. It matches perfectly with that bezel insert. I think it looks really, really good. Like I mentioned earlier, you can get this with or without the logo and the branding and the text and all that stuff. You can get it with a 6 o'clock date, a 3 o'clock date, or a no date. So you got plenty of options there. The dial itself is done really nice. I see no issues with the printing. Even getting up real close, you can see the printing is done very nicely. You've got your 12, 3, 6, and 9. Obviously on this model, the 6 is obscured. But I think really nicely done. I like the text on that. You have your big hour markers there just printed right on the dial. Those are BGW9. Nice long minute track, as you can see there. So nothing really gets obscured too much by the crystal on this thing. The handset that they used, again, nicely done, nicely sized. It is a simple pencil minute hand and then an oversized sword hand there for the hour hand. Again, I think it looks really nice with the white second hand there. Really nice, just pop of white. I think it all looks very good. You can see the color match during the daytime of that lume is just spot on. So really happy with the watch dial. They think they executed it very nicely, in my opinion. The lume on this thing, the lume is actually pretty good as well. So I'm going to pop up a lume shot here, and you can see it against a couple other watches in the collection, and it definitely holds its own. The dial does fade a lot faster than the hands and the bezel insert, but I guess thinking about it, at the end of the day, all you really need is the hands and the bezel insert, and you can tell the time. So it would be nice to have a few more coats on the dial itself, but definitely not something that's necessary. So just something to keep in mind. But the lume is actually pretty good on this watch. All right, so let's talk about the movement and the crown on this thing. The movement is the Seiko NH35. Obviously, if you get the no date version, you're going to have a ghost date position, but otherwise, you have a nice date complication down here at the 6 o'clock or at the 3 o'clock, which is color matched to the dial. So that's nice to see. This NH35 has been running excellent for me, as you can see here. I have a hard time believing it came out of the factory like that. So I believe they are regulating this thing. So that's nice to see. Yeah, really zero complaints with the accuracy on this watch. Again, it's the Seiko NH35. If you're unaware, it is hacking, hand winding. It is reliable. It is accurate enough, obviously. They're cheap to replace. They're easy to work on. They are just workhorse movements, 21,600 beats per hour. So you got 6 ticks of the second hand every second, about 40 hours of power reserve. So it does everything you need it to do. It does nothing else. It is not fancy or anything like that, but it is reliable. It's a workhorse, and they're excellent movements. I've got no complaints about them at all. To operate the movement, you have this 3 o'clock screw down crown. Again, nicely signed here. Plenty of grip on it, and it's a good size in my opinion. You do have a little bit of interference with that bezel, but for the most part, it's completely fine. You get a nice satisfying pop out of the crown there. First position is your hand winding. It's nice and smooth. Second position is your date. You can see here. I'm going to show you the alignment on that. It does seem to be just a little bit off, but it hasn't really bothered me. Pulling it out to the third position, obviously that hacks the movement, and this is where you set the time. Everything functions as it should. The crown feels nice and solid. There's no wobble or anything like that to it. So yeah, pretty satisfied with that. Pushing it in, starts up the second hand immediately. Yeah, no complaints with it at all. The screw in, screw out action. It's one of those crowns where when you're screwing it in, you are winding the movement. So it's not super smooth, but yeah, it's definitely smooth enough. I'm not feeling like I'm going to be cross-threading this at all every time I'm screwing in it. So yeah, it's the NH35 and it's running great. I've got zero complaints about it. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So like I mentioned earlier, the bracelet is 20 millimeters at the lugs and it tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. You can see here, it's a nicely brushed finish on the top here. Pretty consistent with the case. I think it looks really good. You have polishing on the sides here, screw pins for adjusting the size of this thing. I removed 3 links for my 7.5 inch wrist, so and I think there's 5 links left, so you're gonna have plenty of adjustment on this thing. I think it's a great bracelet, nice and fluid and articulating. I don't have any links hanging on each other. This bottom edge is actually really nice and soft, so yeah, this is one of those bracelets you can wear all day long and not really notice it at all. You can see here the tolerances are very nice as well. You got a little bit of play in that first link, but otherwise it's very nicely done. I got no complaints with that. You can see there's the finishing on that first female link there. The end links nice and solid and tight in here. Got no issues with that either. Female end links, and they drape straight down, so it's going to fit a lot of wrist sizes in my opinion. Very happy with the end link fitment on this thing. Very happy with the bracelet in general. The tolerances, I mean, it's right up there with St. Martin as far as the quality goes. And I think it's a more comfortable bracelet because of this bottom edge here. So yeah, I am actually pretty satisfied with this bracelet. So here you can see it side by side with the St. Martin, and I definitely feel like the Watchdives has a little bit tighter tolerances. There's a little bit more of a gap in between the links on the St. Martin there. The brushing, it's a little bit different as you can see, but I think just as nice as one another. But yeah, this bottom edge is definitely a sharper edge on the St. Martin here. So I am pretty satisfied with it, and I think the play in the bracelets is equal between the two. So I'm pretty satisfied with the bracelet on this watch. Working our way to the clasp here, you have your Watchdives branded clasp, brushed on the top, brushed on the sides. Nice polished chamfer here, so I think it matches the case nicely. It is a pretty thick clasp, and you'll notice here there's no micro adjust, but that is because this watch has an on-the-fly adjustment system. So very similar to what you see on a Christopher Ward, very similar to what Seastern has been using on their watches. So yeah, it works pretty good. I'm trying to find a good way to show you guys this. So you basically just pull this out and that adjusts it there. And then you push it in and it'll ratchet in 4 positions. I don't think it covers enough distance to cover one full length. Someone did mention that. They were not able to get a good fit. I am able to get a good fit. I think most people will be able to get a good fit. But yeah, I think the only real negative of this clasp is that it's just a little bit thicker than what, Seastern and Christopher Ward are putting out. So I think for this model, the thickness kind of matches with the case, so it doesn't bother me too much. I do like that it's not an overly wide clasp either. So yeah, pretty happy with the clasp on this thing. These buttons, they work pretty good. I've got no issues with the clasp on this thing. I got no issues with the bracelet. I think it's actually really good. I guess I would have liked to see maybe something a little bit different as far as style-wise goes, but the one that they chose, it's actually a really good bracelet. So there you go, guys. That is the Watchdives 1967. Really happy with this watch. I was pretty impressed with it when I first got it, and it's just kind of grown on me since then. I like the case. I like the bezel. I like the bezel insert. Yeah, I think the design of it is really cool. The bracelet is good. It's nice and soft on this inside edge, and that makes all the difference in the world to me, in my opinion. On the fly clasp for $155 during this sale. I think you're going to be hard pressed to find a nicer watch for $155. So, yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.